Hello and welcome back to the Consistory of the Coelc YouTube channel. I'm your host for this video, Reverend Zabel of St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church located in Dalby, Queensland, Australia, a member congregation of the Confessional Orthodox Evangelical Lutheran Communion, or COELC for short. And today I'm actually addressing a question that was sent in to me. The question is, are Christians allowed to use lingerie for sexual intercourse? And if so, to what extent? Alright, so there's a lot to go on here, and we're going to, in this video, kind of give a Christian approach to lingerie. So the question is, can Christians wear lingerie? Like, is this considered bad and a naughty thing you shouldn't do, or is it okay? Well, I would argue that yes, to some degree, yes, it is okay. Since lingerie is essentially like makeup and jewelry, it's just something you do to decorate your body. And we see in places like the Song of Songs, and also like the Book of Esther, when she has to beautify herself for her one night with the king, it was commonplace for women to decorate themselves up for sexual intercourse. And this actually has to stem with the way that men and women actually participate in sexual intercourse. So you'll notice that lingerie is generally a woman-y thing and not generally something men wear. And this has to do with not just sexuality, but actually the entire relationship between men and women. Men are meant to take a more active role in the marriage, providing, caring, protecting their women. And women are to take a more passive, submissive, obedient, following position in the marriage. And that also is applied to sexual intercourse. This leads to a phrase that I've adopted to explain this situation, where I say, men need to be sexual, women need to be sexy. What is the difference? Well, when it comes to men and women, there is a generality, and I'm going to generalize here because there are going to be the exceptions, but generally, men don't really care so much about the quality of sex. They care more about the quantity. They just want it frequently and they want a lot of it. It's women who tend to actually want more the quality of sex rather than the quantity. See, a man doesn't care how good the sex is as long as he gets it every night, whereas a woman doesn't really care how often she gets it as long as it's good when she does get it. This also stems into a fact that men also see sex more as the physical and women see sex as the emotional. Men use sex to go from the physical attachment to get that emotional, deeper attachment, whereas women are actually the opposite. Generally, they have to be emotionally happy and satisfied before they can enjoy the physical side of it. So for a man, when it comes to sexuality, it's your job to take care of all the other things, the emotional things, the physical things. And by physical, you know, setting everything up, getting everything ready. This is why men tend to be the ones that arrange things like, romantic dates and organize like times and stuff like that. Because that's really your responsibility as the man. If you want to make your wife happy, if you want her to be able to enjoy sex physically, you have to take care of everything else first. Whereas for men, it's actually the opposite. If women want men to be satisfied emotionally, spiritually, have that much deeper connection in a relationship, you need to satisfy him physically first. So for a man, it's more about what you are doing. You need to get involved. You need to do stuff. You need to actually put in a lot of effort. Whereas for women, you just need to please the man physically. And generally, just showing up naked would be pretty much sufficient. However, why then lingerie? Why makeup? Why jewelry? Why anything? Well, to ask you women out there, you would love your husband, you'd respect him and honor him regardless of what he does. Well, at least you should. However, you do like it when he puts in effort. When he buys you flowers, when he makes a romantic date, when he does a candlelight dinner. You might sleep with him even if he didn't do that, but you feel much more appreciated and special when he puts in that effort and does something romantic for you. The same applies for men. So, would a man just sleep with his wife if she just showed up naked? Yeah. Men can be attracted to a woman no matter what they're wearing. If she just shows up wearing pretty much anything, he's pretty much good to go. However, when you put in that bit of effort to make yourself look a bit more attractive, when you put on the makeup, you put on the jewelry, you put on a nice dress, and then under that dress you have something, you know, some kind of interesting lingerie, he feels that you've actually put in some effort for him. He finds it more special. He feels like that you actually care for him, that you're not just sleeping with him because it's something you gotta tick off your to-do list. That it's just, oh, I gotta sleep with my husband again because it's my wifely duty. When you put in that bit of effort for him, it actually makes him feel more loved. And as I said, for women, it goes emotional, then she can enjoy it physically. For men, it starts with the physical and then into the emotional. If you just show up and sleep with your man just because, you know, it's my wifely duty, I just gotta, you know, sleep with him to keep him happy, sleep with him so he doesn't fall into some kind of sexual sin like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7. If you make it seem like work, if you make it seem like a chore, sure, he's going to be physically satisfied, but you've killed any emotion there. He's going to feel unloved, he's going to feel disrespected, he's not going to get that same kind of emotional satisfaction out of it. But if you show up and you treat it something that's special for him, and you put in that bit of effort, that bit of time to just be sexy, he's going to have a much deeper emotional satisfaction and connection to you, and that is going to strengthen your relationship. So it's not just can Christians wear lingerie? I'd actually argue that probably Christian women should do it. However, there does need to be some kind of boundaries and caveats placed on this. For example, one, if you're just doing it to spice up your marriage because your sex life is boring and you need to just, you know, spice it up, yeah, that's not going to fix it. If you're having to spice up your marriage, it means there's probably some deeper emotional, personal, marital issues. It's not just the bedroom. There are some deeper issues involved. If you're trying to wear lingerie to spice things up, there's some deeper issue there that needs to be fixed first before that's going to have any kind of beneficial effect. Now, sometimes maybe the putting on the lingerie may fix the problem. If the problem is that the man is feeling unappreciated, feeling like he's just a chore, feels like he's not special to you, then putting on the lingerie to make him feel appreciated, to show him that you care about him, that you're putting some effort in for him, that might fix a problem in your marriage. But that's not spicing it up to make it more exciting and fun. That's showing him that you care about him, showing that you've taken some time and consideration for him. So there's different reasons behind that. And the other aspect is also that when it comes to Christian lingerie, we need to not just be fetishizing everything. This is actually something that Martin Luther kind of dealt with back in the 1500s. Martin Luther, in multiple sermons and other places, he writes about how husbands and wives need to sleep with each other, how it is a Christian duty for Christian couples to have sex. However, Luther also, in one particular sermon, he talks about how there needs to be moderation in our sex life. In the same way that we just don't go getting drunk or being gluttonous with food, we also need to be responsible with our sex life. And St. Paul addresses this in 1 Corinthians 7, saying that there should be times of fasting. But it's not just periods of fasting for sex. There's also the treating sex as something sacred and respectful with God. So when you're putting on the lingerie, it shouldn't be, you know, some kind of debaucherous, fetishizing, kind of naughty thing you're doing. You know, you should treat it with some kind of sacred respect. Like, when you get married, you put on a nice wedding dress, you put on your best makeup, you put on your jewelry, because you're trying to be presentable and, you know, show this ceremony of the marriage with the kind of respect it deserves. The same thing goes with sexual intercourse. It is a sacred thing between a husband and a wife. And so, while you can, and I would argue again, should put on some lingerie, make sure it is tasteful, respectful, that it is honoring your husband and God. Don't go for the kind of, you know, fetishizing, debaucherous kind of just, you know, satisfying actually every sexual itch and urge that you want to go into. You know, have some restraint, have some respect. This is like Martin Luther talked about. He says, you know, when it comes to sex, we don't just go getting drunk and drinking whatever and whenever we want. We don't just go getting, you know, gluttonous on food. Sure, it is nice to have a nice wine, to have a good quality beer. It is good to eat some food delicacies, to have a really nice dinner. But there's a difference between that and just giving in to like every depraved thought that goes through your head. That's the issue. So yeah, not only can Christian women wear lingerie, I'd argue you probably should. It will help your husband feel a lot more loved and appreciated. However, don't just do it to spice things up and make things fun, and don't go fetishizing everything and giving into every depraved thought. Have a bit of restraint, have a bit of respect for this sacred union of husband and wife. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question as to whether Christian women can wear lingerie, and if so, to what degree they can. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye, God bless.